Okay, wonderful. Welcome. So, our theme today in inner fitness is accuracy. So, as usual, we're going to start with the reflection. As I sit here, I slowly start to move my focus from being out there on the outer world of sound and time and actions. I start to move it inwards through the window of the eyes. Start to turn my focus inwards on my inner world of thoughts and feelings, experiences, impressions, attitudes. It's not a physical space, my inner world. It's quite unlimited. There's so much going on in there throughout the day. But for now, just focusing on my thoughts at this moment and seeing the very close, direct relationship between what I think and how I feel. If I think about a past scene or situation that I found challenging or might be unresolved, it creates a certain kind of feeling inside. But if I think about pleasant memories, it creates a different feeling. Whatever thoughts I focus on, whatever thoughts I create, that's where the feelings come from. And if I focus on what is eternal, beyond the day-to-day, beyond this realm of time, sound, and action, that internal space, that eternal realm, where I am free from everything limited, the physical identity. I am in a state of pure being, just I, the soul, completely free, a tiny spark of life and light. A wave of peace washes through my mind. However I focus my thoughts, that creates the feeling. So if I seek a particular experience, I don't need to focus outside, but I do need to take care in what thoughts I am creating. This is what it means to be full of care for the self. Om Shanti. So again, warm welcome to all. I know some joined in the last few minutes. Welcome. Our focus today is accuracy. So we're going to, as usual, get you to reflect to start. And I want you to think about, just in day-to-day life, doesn't necessarily need to be overtly spiritual moments, although, of course, we consider every moment to be spiritual, but day-to-day life, going about our usual tasks and activities, what situations, circumstances, instances, where do you feel accuracy is really important? A really good idea. In what situations do you feel accuracy is very, very important? So take a moment to reflect on that. In day-to-day life, where is accuracy very important? I mean, once you start to have these wonderful ideas pop into your mind, you can either type them into chat, or if you want to speak, I'll remind you we are being recorded, but you're welcome to speak. It will just be your voice. You're welcome to share in either way.
Driving on the right side of the road.
Driving in general, but driving on the right side of the road?
Knowing when it's a red light, you stop.
So general driving etiquette, it's very important. At the, if you're, yes, pharmacy, I have a story on that one. Pharmacy, very important. We trust that there is accuracy going on behind that counter, right? We know what can happen. So we have a story on that one. Definitely. It's funny because, Nilu, because that is the whole realm of healthcare is actually where I thought we're very concerned about accuracy.
Right patient, right medicine.
Right patient,
right dose.
right medicine, right diagnosis, right dose. The 5 rights. Oh, Nilu, well done. We added 2 more, but yes, the 5 rights of the whole healthcare model, that whole dynamic, very much so.
I wanted to mention there's accuracy needed a lot for the glasses as well. If the glasses, they do it wrong, tiny bit, it could cause a lot of headache for people.
Yeah, the glasses. I always find that quite, I have a lovely optometrist, and whenever she goes in, you know, the checking of the eyes, I'm always so struck by the accuracy and the precision of the eye test. You know, they do that thing where, is this better or worse? Better or worse? With the lenses. You're like, really? I don't see a difference. Better or worse?
Yeah.
It's like crazy. And you want to give an accurate answer because it will determine, as you say, what prescription, which can lead to headache if it's not accurate. Yeah. Anywhere else, accuracy is important. So we have driving, we have healthcare. Yes, go ahead, Hema Ben. Hema, did you want to share an answer? Or you just wanted to give blessings?
No. Actually, I didn't know that I raised the hand. But anyways, at workplaces as well, right? You are expected to be accurate.
The workplace, yeah. I was sharing, I just did the first aid training, and of course part of that is SDS, safety data sheets, but in general, the workplace, especially if you're accounting.
You also have a SDS. We also have a SDS.
Yeah. So the accuracy and you know, that in the workplace, I think there starts to be that interesting conversation about opinions versus accuracy or truth, if you will. That starts to really come up. Like, everyone's got their opinion, but what is the accurate path forward?
Since we're talking about workplaces and whatnot, probably like appointments.
Appointments, as in showing up at the right appointment at the right time.
Yeah, exactly. Right place.
Is there a personal?
Oh, at that time where patients were like, "Oh, I'm in the wrong place."
Yeah. Oh, no, I think everyone's got so much sometimes going on, keeping track of it all. There's many instances I think we can think of. It's funny about the pharmacy one because, of course, we've shared before, there's this beautiful movie that was created during the Depression era. It's a Wonderful Life. And one of the scenes in that is, of course, it's depression. Everyone's having challenges. And in this movie, there's a young boy who is lovely, just lovely, but he's several things have gone on in his older life. So they are allowing him to have memories of his past so he can realize how much he has changed the community in which he lived. And one of the scenes as a young boy is he was an assistant to the pharmacist in this little town. And the pharmacist was going through a very difficult period. It might have been that his son had gone off to war or something had happened, but the pharmacist was very distracted. And so the main character as a little boy is watching the pharmacist start to prepare a prescription, dispense it, and he knows he's made a mistake. And it will be a life-threatening mistake if he's not told. So this little boy has to go up to the pharmacist and say, "Mr. So-and-so, you've made a mistake." And he gets so angry at the little boy, he starts to actually box his ears until they bleed. He's so angry. He says, "How can you insult me this way? How can you say He says, "But you've made a mistake." And he's like, he just keeps insisting. And there's repercussions to his ears actually being damaged this much. And then finally the pharmacist really listens and really, oh my gosh, I have made a mistake. My life would have been ruined if you had not told me, brought this to my attention, because, of course, someone's health would have been affected, compromised, and that would have been the end of his reputation. So in pharmacy, and I think all of the medical caregiving roles, when it comes to health, we like accuracy. We really do. We really like, it's not like, oh, let me go. So the reason I bring it up is because sometimes we have this term accuracy. And when it comes to virtues, there's some virtues that we're very attracted to. So love and peace and bliss and compassion. And then there's some that we call the boot camp virtues. And accuracy is one of them. For some people, not all people, but for some people, they have a very different experience between accuracy and, say, love. They feel they're at two different ends of a continuum. We know they're both important, but very different. Not everyone. Some have the same feeling towards accuracy as they do towards love, but some, it's very different feeling, accuracy. And yet, if we're completely honest, it's as important as love in terms of well-being, the contribution towards well-being on any level, actually, physical to spiritual. And so always checking, what is my relationship with this virtue of accuracy to start with, because it's quite critical, as we can see, even in physical day-to-day life. So starting with the physical fitness, what does accuracy look like? What does it have to do with physical fitness? Why would this term accuracy come up? Any thoughts? The relationship of accuracy and just physical fitness.
There's a very ideal alignment that's optimal for the body's function. I guess you can say it's a natural alignment, and I don't think you can really, I'm not sure if you can really rationalize that one. I guess it's up to debate. What if somebody obviously is born with a certain congenital,
or there's
way of
injuries?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this idea that architecturally the body has an ideal alignment, and it's not really different from one to the other. There might be some adjustments for, as you say, congenital or injuries. But the same principle basically holds in terms of ideal alignment. So why would that have anything to do with fitness? Where is the accuracy connection?
Healthy movement.
Healthy movement. So the execution of the
Thriving,
exercise.
injury-free movement.
Right. So there is benefit in being accurate. You actually get more out of the exercises when you're accurate, and without it, not only is there less benefit, but it could lead to injury.
It's kind of like we have a car like wheel alignment. So if it's not aligned, I mean, we feel it, right? That I mean, and it could be very dangerous as well.
Yeah.
So if it's not like repaired at the right time, so it's same with the body as well, right? So if it's not aligned or it's not accurately aligned, then over a period of time, there are serious repercussions, right?
Well, it's so funny you mention that, Hema, because we just had a conversation with a soul an hour ago who shared this exact story. They had, I think a year ago or something, wintertime, a bit of a skid into the median in the middle of the road, that concrete median. And they drove, the car was still drivable. Everything was fine. They did not get it checked or addressed. And as they said, over time, there was misalignment. And over time, it led to a very expensive repair because it was not addressed immediately. There was a misalignment they were driving with. So ironic that you bring that example up.
Yeah.
Nora. Hema, sorry, did you want to add?
No.
Okay.
I think there's probably other things when you're talking about benefit, but even like something like energy conservation, probably certain things that are a lot more laborious that we do because it's not lined up properly.
Right. So there's efficiency gains. Again, this is all under the umbrella of benefit, but there's efficiency gains. So the example we can think of is a runner, whether it's a short distance runner or a long distance runner. For a short distance runner, they really want to streamline their gait so that they can move more quickly. And for the long distance runner, they need to conserve their energy. So they also are concerned about the accuracy of their gait so that it can go over a long period of time. So they recruit professionals, those who are very knowledgeable, have expertise to train them. Or something like, I remember trying all these crazy sports they make us do in athletics. So yes, they made us try high jump and hurdles, and over. The only way you got anywhere with it without being injured was at some point you needed some guidance in execution, accurate execution. High jump, you're not going to go any higher unless you get some guidance in how to properly execute. Same thing with hurdles. So it's so important to so many different, elements of benefit, of course, reflective of the sport, but really to be able to take full benefit from the exercise and remain safe from injury. So in general, we even look at what's an accurate fitness regime. Is it well-rounded? Am I executing each exercise properly? So as an example, we have many people who like to cycle, indoor cycle a lot, and they'll actually only indoor cycle. So they're not really doing any range of motion work or strength building work. So we start to notice that they start to develop certain things happening with the body, certain injuries, repetitive injuries, and their posture really starts to change if they're not really paying attention to alignment. So it's it can really affect the benefits and the safety from injury. Hema's blessing us again. Yes.
Yes. Like Judy Ben, recently I've been doing some exercises because of I'm still under recovery and all. So I started doing some exercises, and very strangely, I got a shin splint.
Oh, the shin splints, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it was so severe a pain. I never even understand like what's going on. So I went to the YouTube and I figured that out that, okay, this can be fixed by chiropractor or the kinesiology. So, and anyways, I was going to the chiropractor. So I went there and then I said that, can you fix this one? And he said, yeah, we'll address that as well. And I said, and he said that, are you a runner? I said, I never ran in my life. So
it is very interesting. You developed that.
so then he said that, how do you think that it happened? I said, like I've been trying to recover as fast as possible. So I was trying to do as many exercises as possible. Because it's all like a repairing of muscle and all kind of stuff. So I did one exercise. I showed him that this is what I have done. And since that moment, he said, oh God, no. Oh my God, I was in a pain for so many days. I can't even imagine. And I ended up spending a lot of money by just doing not a right exercise, right? So yeah, it's very interesting, right? Then he started, and he ended up saying that, okay, now he checked my core muscle and all. He said, your core muscle is, I thought that your core muscle should be good because you are doing exercise and yoga and all. And he, like the another kinesiologist, she said, no, she needed to strengthen that muscle. And it's very tricky, right? I mean, activating that core muscle. So, yeah, so that's where I remembered that accuracy. She said that, no, you really have to do it very accurately. Otherwise, you are wasting time.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Yeah. And it's very interesting in physical fitness, coming from the dance background in this birth. There is massive focus on accuracy. Massive. It's you develop a deep love affair with accuracy in any of the aesthetic sports. And not only a deep love affair with accuracy, but you see the connection between accuracy and subtlety. That gains in accuracy happen at an increasingly subtle level. I don't know. I won't show you the Misty Copeland video again, but it really focuses again on very, very subtle just adjustments. And so this definitely starts to cross over into the spiritual realm. So having that loving relationship with accuracy, seeing that it's through accuracy that I have benefit gains. It's great to have enthusiasm. I could tell that Hema had lots of enthusiasm, but again, it can lead to injury or just inefficiency, not getting the benefits I envision because I'm not actually executing the exercise accurately. And we see this so much in the physical fitness realm. We see it a lot. There's a great deal of interpretation going on. And this has been, of course, a big debate, perhaps even concern during this time of online explosion. Yes, of course, there is a disclaimer at the beginning of every video, but quite frankly, we have no idea what people who are watching the videos are doing. No idea. And because the body awareness may not be there, who knows what's going on. So it really is up to each of us to have that concern, interest, love. I don't just want to do it, I want to do it accurately so I can get those benefits. So I find it an extremely powerful word in every aspect of our lives, and of course, starting with spirituality. So we come into the spirituality, and of course, there's always, in physical fitness, there's certain objectives that we have. So for Hema, it was wanting to return back to healthy movement, full return to health physically. So everyone has their objective in terms of what gains they're hoping to achieve. They're not just, well, some are doing it just because they enjoy, that's their objective. They enjoy movement. So that's an objective too. But with spirituality, I think it's so important, at least it's a big part of what we explore in the spiritual study of Raj Yoga. What is my objective? Why am I doing all of this? Why am I even embarking on a spiritual study. So that's really important to articulate to the self. And as we say, have it in front of you all the time, that objective. Yes, the path might keep changing on the way there, but I want to be very fixed, very stable on what my objective is, why I'm doing this spiritual practice. So taking a moment now, and you don't have to share it or anything, but just sort of internally reinforce for yourself right now why I am embarking on this spiritual practice, this spiritual path. What is my objective? Is everyone good on that? They could articulate to themselves why they're doing this, and it's really, really, really important to them. Great. Yes, Nora.
Sorry, this isn't really relevant per se to just my own reflection, but when you were sharing about Misty Copeland and those who were there during that last Inner Fitness, I don't know, maybe a couple of months ago when you showed that video of this ballet dancer doing these subtle adjustments. I wasn't aware until you shared later on it, the reason why she was doing that so meticulously was because she had an injury. And so I was just remembering that when you were talking about why am I doing what I'm doing? Because it feels like if it's not clear, you're not going to be meticulous. You're not going to be concerned with accuracy. You're not going to be concerned with, am I aligned and actually moving closer to what the whole point of this is.
Yeah, one really needs to be very personally invested. So yes, I am bringing it up for you.
Because I was like, why is she
So
particularly
yeah,
focusing?
so this is a soul who, you'll see it when she's standing at the bar. You'll notice that the knees are together, but there's a gap between her feet. She has something quite extreme hyperextension or hypermobility. And although it looks beautiful as a ballet dancer, those souls are very prone to injury, very prone, because their bones aren't actually stacked. Their architecture is quite unstable. So they're very prone to injury. So they really have to figure out how to, she's talked about how she has to control, and you'll see it, I'll try to point out to you, how she has to control her hyperextension. Ballet dancers would die for that hyperextension because the alignments, it's such a beautiful line, but it actually is a bit of a big responsibility because it's more prone to injury. So in this case, she actually had back injury. So the reason that she's engaging in this very subtle, accurate sort of review of a very, very, very basic exercise called a tendu is because she wants to learn how to move forward, keep dancing more accurately, and become free of injury. So let's see if we can, I apologize, this requires technical mastery. Yeah, sure we can. All right, so we're bringing it in. There it is. Can you see? Okay.
Where I want to be my weight on the leg, it's even harder to.
It's really far. I kept it running. Let's try this.
No, your back is fine. Your back is fine.
Okay, let's go a little bit further. Okay, here we go.
I'm just,
The core is the thing, the tough part.
I'm thinking of my core and it's still going into my back.
No, your back is fine. Your back is fine. As long as you
I'm
don't.
not thinking of
Don't think about it. This is good. Yeah, just leave it. It's fine.
So notice her
Yeah,
knees
it's
are
perfectly
together, her
like
feet are
flat
apart.
like a board. This is good.
Very extreme hyperextension.
Okay. I'm gonna start again. Just, not too hard, just equal. Keep your toes out of it. Yeah, just kind of. Good. That is good. Okay. And then just a little, and go, and hold. Okay, now don't. No, it's not swinging an axe. You go. So the down is the tougher part, just like closing is the tougher part. So when you go down, you've got to really use some stuff, more than you're doing. So as you go down, we need all of this in play, or you're going to push out. Yes. No, you can't do this right now because of the back, but you can do, hey, soft legs. This is the core right here, this thing too. Right, so this is just a different experience on this side, right? Relax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can really appreciate what just the level of accuracy. That was an extremely basic exercise that most would execute mindlessly, which they shouldn't. But you could see how they were very deliberately focusing on accuracy, and she was motivated to do that because she doesn't want any more injury. So she wants to keep dancing. So the personal motivation of this needs to be quite powerful. And even, you know, I always think when we talk about accuracy, I always think about the Mahabharata and the character in the Mahabharata who becomes most well known through the Gita, who is Arjuna. And even though there's 5 brothers and it's Yudhishthira who would actually be the king, it's Arjuna who gets all the fame and glory, all the focus through history. He's the archer. And we know that archery is a symbol for focus and accuracy. This is such, each brother represents a different quality that will be needed. And the one who sits on the throne, Yudhishthira, is obsessed with dharma, right? And that's the main, what is my dharma? This is the main motivator. But this focus on accuracy that Arjun represents as the archer is huge, huge. It's always, I want to be accurate. I won't hit the target if I'm not accurate. It's just not going to happen. So this real love affair with accuracy. So there's one thing to, you know, yes, I'm going to do the exercise, but the second thing is I'm going to do it accurately. And even if it requires that I stay at a very basic level, that I seem to be spending a lot of time at a very basic level, there's huge advances in terms of self-progress. And that particularly applies to the spiritual path because we know the most advanced lessons come at the beginning. It's upside down, right? The spiritual study is upside down. So the most advanced lesson comes at the beginning, and then they just simply build on that. It's like a tree. Whereas in worldly studies, it's the basic lessons, or so we think. I would say the most advanced lessons come at the beginning of a worldly study too. They're the foundation. So ABC, you get nowhere. You will get nowhere without mastering your ABCs. So there'll be no reading, writing. We know. I remember once the physical father was a professor at university, and I remember one year he called me into his study. He was marking papers for his undergrad students. And I was, I think, 12 years old at the time, 12 or 13 years old. And he called me into his study and said, "Can you read this essay?" And I looked at him like he was mad. I said, "I'm sorry, why would I read an essay that university students are writing? How on earth am I going to be able to read an essay that university students have written?" He says, no, trust me. Can you just read it? He says, I just want to be fair. I don't want to jump to any conclusions, so can you just read it for me? And I started to read it. And after a few sentences, I looked at him and said, "Oh my gosh, how did they get this far? How did they get this far writing like this?" Like there was no way that, and he was so torn. He says, I can't pass this paper. Like I can't give it a passing grade. He says, "No, you can't. How did they get this far?" You know, and so is it more advanced? Their basics weren't in place. So even a worldly study, the most challenging, the most important lessons come at the beginning. And, you know, looking at that paper, I remember thinking, they need to go back. They need to go back and master those basics. They can't, somehow they've been consistently allowed to continue and got to this point. And Was
Be-
that love to let them continue without that accuracy? Was that love? Was that fair? So now he was in this challenging position where it's like they have to go back and master the basics. So in spirituality, we acknowledge the most, sorry, Hema, yes, the most powerful lessons come at the beginning. Go ahead, Hema.
It reminds me the basic study, which is 1 and 0.
Mm-hmm.
The whole
Binary.
digital world is right now. We all are connected through 1 and 0,
Yeah,
right?
right now we certainly are. Yeah, the binary code. So in the spiritual practice, what is that first lesson? Who am I? I wouldn't want to skip over that anyway. But it's amazing how, okay, I'm going to go peaceful and love and I'm with God. And it's like, I haven't mastered the first lesson and I'm kind of jumping all over the place and it will catch up with me. It will catch up with me. I'll be in increasingly challenging situations and I will not have the inner equipment to deal with it. Because even though I say I'm with God, I'm loving, but this is just, we're hearing it. We're hearing it from long time. Spiritual students, how did we get that far? You know, it's like strong signals to go back. It's not too late and it's not embarrassing or humiliating. It's love. It's love. A loving thing to do, whether for someone else or the self. Let's go back and master the basics. So I've been very touched that we currently have a series going on for the BK students in our region, which is all about lesson 1, soul consciousness. And it's a very interesting, I remember we were in a class and it's like you don't think about soul consciousness, you actually do soul consciousness. You're doing something. And I think that's the first problem we have is we don't realize that we do. I need to be doing something. I need to be experiencing something quite concrete. And the best language we can come up with is observer, but I'm doing something. I'm moving into a different awareness. So this very basic practice that the first student, Brahma Baba, really recognized, this is big. This is a game changer. This is a complete reframing of the self to become aware of who I really am on a timeless level. It's going to mean I let go, that these words I and mine completely change. So the significance, I like the word essence was used recently, but the significance of saying, I am a spiritual being, I am a soul, has that really hit me? And to recognize, we know in physical fitness, you could see it in that video with Misty Copeland, you could see her struggle of not lapsing into old dynamics that led to the injury. It's she was hardly allowed to move. It's like, no, stop. Don't, just start again. You're already. Like for just someone watching with their naked eye, it's like, looked pretty good to me. But that, someone who's very experienced, they're like, no. And sees the subtlety again, the subtlety of true accuracy, that it's off. You're slipping into your old dynamics. Can I see that when I'm doing it myself? In practicing soul consciousness. So this is part of, say, the benefit of experimenting with open-eyed meditation and what that symbolizes. Even if your eyes closed, it's fine, but what that symbolizes is I'm not slipping into my old dynamics, which were things like kind of zoning out, floating off. I'm not actually moving into a different sense of self, a different awareness where I am, very basic, I, the soul, am not this body. It's a very simple thing, but it's terrifying to the status quo inside. Absolutely terrifying, because it means everything will be reframed, right? I'm not this body, I'm not this age, I'm not this gender, I'm not this story, I'm not my relationships. I'm not pushing anything away. I'm simply reframing myself. And am I feeling that? Children are great at this. They're great at this idea of moving into a different awareness very easily because of that innocence, that purity. So it gets more challenging when you're working, as any fitness professional will tell you. One of the most challenging things is working with clients that already have set mechanics. It's very challenging to get them, like they will go, as you saw with him, they'll go hands-on. It's like, oh, trying not to. You know, I'm sure I've told you this story of with this, and when you have injuries, it's multiplied. But with this injury, I've had a physio duct tape. And they will duct tape, or they have special tape to try and keep it accurately in place. But the old habits are so strong that the moment the arm moves, the duct tape is literally ripped off, shredded. That's how powerful old dynamics are. That's the thing that gets very interested. The idea of considering myself to be a soul on its own is extremely simple. So we call it easy Raj Yoga. What makes it challenging is we're not working with a blank slate. We're coming to it after deep habits of thinking I'm the body. But the thing itself is very, very simple. But the baggage that I'm bringing into the exercise, you know, is quite, not to be depressing or anything, but just to acknowledge if I'm looking for that accuracy in the most basic lesson, because everything builds on the basics, on the foundation. Again, we see this in physical fitness. I remember doing my fusion training, and it was drilled into us. You do not add movement until you have the foundation. So, for example, a push-up, the foundation of a push-up. Foundation means the part of the body that's connected to the ground and then building up from that. So push-up is based on a plank. If I do not have a solid plank, I should not be doing a push-up. And then the question is, do I know how to do a plank? Do I know what's supposed to be happening through the whole body? So this idea of if I don't have everything else, my connection to God, my connection to the virtues, my capacity to do service, it's all based on the accuracy of my foundation of soul consciousness, all of it. No matter how much love I have for those other things, that's wonderful. But I know the benefits, the accuracy, the gains, the attainments are determined by being soul conscious. Now, we just had a retreat which looked at the healing power of pure love. And when we were thinking about what the keynote address, the entry point into the retreat should be, the team lead, she really felt it should be about being able to receive pure love from God. And that this is where souls were struggling. They have love for God. Everyone's doing, as it's been said many times, you all pass in the subject of having love for God. Of course, everyone's very loving. But in terms of receiving, this is where it gets interesting. You know, why we still might look for support through other avenues, because we're not getting it from God. So people say, well, at this time I'm very lonely. But if I'm receiving, would I be lonely? And I say, but you know, I need physical, but you're a soul. So it's understandable. Can I receive from the Supreme Soul, this receiving? Now, if I have, we've talked about it before, if I have a lamp that's capable of receiving electricity, it's corded. If I can't quite get into the outlet, no receiving's going on. I know you're going to argue about wireless, but that also requires proper channels, etc. So what makes it possible to receive? And the answer that we explored that day in the keynote, again, it came back to, well, if I'm not soul conscious, I can't receive. I've been in situations where I'm with someone and they speak a different language. They're kind of on a different wavelength, if you will. They're speaking a completely different language. And yes, I can pick up on some of the subtleties, the feelings, but I very often have no idea what they're saying because it's a different language. I just don't speak that language. So their treat was healing through pure love in silence. So being able to move into that language of God, to actually hear, receive from that being in that language of silence. This is something that really only I, in my state of being a soul, can experience. So much is based on the foundation, on lesson 1. And when we look at the original students, I know I have this picture behind me. These are some of the original students. Number 2 student, Mama, surrounded by a lot of the big senior students, many who have, I think all of them, I think have since passed away. But I look at, almost daily now we're hearing their stories, but also having been to the spiritual headquarters and seen them speak or interacted, and every time I think, oh my goodness, you could make a movie out of any one of their lives. Not because of the incredible things that they've achieved, but because how it started. These are just ordinary, seemingly ordinary young girls, Kumaris. They came in their teens, many of them. Very ordinary, small towns. Most of them did not complete their education because they came at a young age. Really, seemingly ordinary. And then you fast forward to the end of the story. And it's not just, we say, well, that happens to me. But when you see an organization where there's such a high number of souls who have the same incredible story, you start to think, this isn't hit and miss. There's something methodical that was going on, that you keep seeing the same pattern. Very humble, ordinary beginnings. Fast forward, I remember one year, it was Daddy Genki who really was accurate, very accurate in her methods in following the directions. And I remember there was one year, this was a year or two before she passed away, again on March 27th she did, and I received a note saying, can you prepare this letter? It's a letter that it's a friend of Daddy's is having a birthday. It's their birthday, and she wants to send them a birthday note. And we'd like to format it nicely. So they sent me the letter. And they said, yeah, so can you format this letter? And I start doing it. I said, this is a letter to Prince Charles. This is not your ordinary friend. Now, how did Daddy, this ordinary, I wouldn't even say ordinary. I think most people thought not going to amount to anything. Soul, very much sort of dismissed by many. What happened that she's suddenly over here? Really such a beautiful, benevolent, serviceable force on the global stage. What happened? What method? What path? And that she walked it accurately. And that path was based on, who am I? Who do I belong to? Who am I? Who do I belong to? These were her 2 steps. Very accurate, very mindful in each one, the awareness or experience. And I'll end by saying I was very touched recently listening to Daddy's, I don't even want to say right hand, I say probably one of her closest friends within the Brahmin family, Hansaben, who was her main assistant, if you want, really cared for Daddy on the physical level and that companionship. And Hansaben was sharing what was Daddy's dharna, was the word used, which means that virtue or character or approach to the physical, to the spiritual study. And I appreciate what she shared, and I've heard it over and over again for all of them. Regardless of the age, regardless of the physical health, they remained very accurate in their disciplines until their last breath. Very accurate. This love affair with accuracy. So very accurate in their timetable, in their words, in their meals, and everything coming from that spiritual alignment. So it's, to me, it is not a boot camp virtue, but it's probably one of the most important virtues, is this accuracy, because it's what really allows us to progress in any endeavor. It's not just doing it, but am I doing it accurately? Am I taking full benefit? So we're going to end there, see if there's any last thoughts. I don't know how it flew by. Any last thoughts anyone wants to share? Go ahead, Nora.
I think it really helped. I know maybe others would have thought that, but I felt it really helped hearing when you mentioned about mystical blends. You know, the intention, because I don't recall hearing about that piece when we watched it last time. I really appreciated the level of intention that she had, but perhaps I was missing the other half of the story, which is she had injury, and there was that's why there's that level of tension. And I think you kind of step back and see why anyone is probably accurate about things and you don't even know what their story is, but it's probably something to do with, they don't even, may not even be able to articulate what that is. So when you were sharing about Daddy Janki and perhaps even like Brahma Baba, you know, they have this memory of the kind of being that they are, and that's really, really important to them.
Yeah.
And now they have the means to be able to do that. And I appreciate like Hema's experience that she was talking about.
Which she shared very honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. And that individual you mentioned about who was exercising and became pregnant, and you know, and it kind of makes you realize that we don't appreciate the impact of the subtlety. Because I remember when I was, and it's like, especially when it comes to spirituality, because you can't see it, and you can't see it, and the trajectory can take a long time before you see the impact of it if it's not from the right place. Because when I took the astrophysics course when I was in university, and we're looking through the telescope, you know, in the night sky.
Right.
And they were sharing, okay, you're just going to move that, not even like a couple of millimeters. Okay, now you're looking at a completely different galaxy. I mean, like, it's on that level, it's like, holy wow. But that's a physical thing. It seems like there's a disconnect. We can't seem to connect that to how important the subtle is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where we capture more and more accuracy is, and it really does, of course, segue into the conversation of quantity versus quality, so that we're looking at a quality of self-care. So yes, I can go and buy a bunch of food, I think, but then eventually I want to look at the quality of that food. And is it nutritious? Is it beneficial? So it's really an expression of care to go into the quality or accuracy of what I'm doing, not just what, but how. How is huge. So I am aware of the time. I wish I could say I was aware of the topic next week. I know that teamwork is the last one. I have no idea. So sorry. It might be power. Let me take a moment. Chat amongst yourselves while I take a moment to cheat here and check out for you what if it's. I know that you enjoy coming, whatever. You're always very, very open. But let's see if we can. Oh, that's not right. So all I am is on the Canadian Brahma Kumari's website, brahmakumaris.ca, and it does tell us what to expect. And under inspirations, letting go. Oh, that's a big one. So just before Valentine's Day, we are going to look at letting go. huge connection to love, letting go. So let's take a moment to reflect together. One thing that we experience when we look at the senior students, the first students of Raj Yoga, this beautiful relationship between accuracy and non-violence, even in the way of physically sitting. They were taught to sit physically in a specific way to take full benefit, but no violence, no rigidity, but sitting with the body alert, engaged. Eyes can be gently open. And then starting to be accurate with my focus, my thoughts, knowing it's in the vehicle of my thoughts that I travel on this spiritual path. Am I having accurate thoughts? My thoughts lead to the experience. My thoughts determine what my intellect experiences. I have the thought, I am a soul. And then what thoughts come next to help me go deeply into that experience? I, the soul, I am separate from this body. I'm able to observe this body. I am seated behind the forehead, a point of awareness. I am very subtle. I cannot see myself with these physical eyes, but I definitely feel my own presence. I feel myself engaging in the activity of thoughts, observation, reflection. I am doing something very subtle. And the body is fading out of my awareness, my focus. It's dangling down below. I am acutely aware of my own presence. I, the thinker. I am eternal. I do not die. This body in the current form will perish. And with it, the story of the body, the costume, the relations, the responsibilities. What belongs to me and what belongs to the body. The invisible belongs to me. The qualities, the attitudes, perspectives, everything that's so powerful in my life, that's within me, the soul. Going into that experience of being just the point, just me, eternal, feeling less and less of a bondage, those ties. I'm still in the body. I'm just now aware of myself. Om Shanti. Thank you so much for joining today. Always appreciate your presence. And we will be letting go next weekend. There are, of course, classes during the week. Do we know what the interview is with the Raj Yogi? We didn't. What was Power of Being Honest with the Self, Part 2 is this Tuesday, certainly connected to accuracy. This Tuesday at 7:35 to 8:15. It's drop-in. It's on YouTube. Of course, there's meditation, so feel free to join those drop-in programs you can get off our website. Until then, Om Shanti.
Shanti.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.